In the cold, grey dawn, as the mist rolled across the scarred plains of Donetsk, a Russian motorized infantry convoy crept forward along a narrow dirt road that wound like a scar through the barren landscape. The soil was blackened from weeks of shelling. Broken trees stood like skeletal witnesses to the unending violence that had consumed the region. The soldiers inside the armored trucks were silent, their breath fogging the cold air, their minds dulled by exhaustion. They believed they were entering an abandoned zone, one that had been declared secure by their command. They were wrong. Beneath the tree line, invisible to the naked eye, an elite detachment from Ukraine's Azov Regiment waited in absolute stillness. For days, they had prepared for this moment, bearing remote-triggered charges, mapping artillery arcs, and synchronizing drone operators positioned miles apart. Each man knew his role. Every second had been rehearsed until perfection. The terrain itself had become their ally, reshaped into a deadly labyrinth where even the smallest mistake could mean annihilation. For nearly 2 weeks, Russian reconnaissance drones had swept the skies above, convinced that nothing remained alive in that sector. But the Azov engineers had learned to outthink the machines. They camouflaged their heat signatures, disguised their communication towers beneath wreckage, and moved only under cloud cover. It was a duel of patience, precision, and deception, and the Azov troops were masters of all three. As dawn broke, the sound of engines grew louder. Through the haze, the first Russian vehicle appeared, a weathered UAZ transport, its green paint dulled by mud and shrapnel. Behind it followed armoured carriers and trucks loaded with supplies, the convoy stretching nearly half a kilometre. The column moved cautiously, but without fear, unaware that the hills around them bristled with unseen eyes. High above, in a hidden command post, Azov drone operators adjusted their lenses. The infrared feeds glowed red with movement, a perfect view of the Russian advance. The order came quietly through encrypted radio. Target confirmed. Phase 1. Prepare detonation. At 6:47, a flash of light erupted beneath the lead vehicle. The explosion tore the convoy's silence apart. Metal shrieked, tires burst, and bodies were flung across the dirt road. The soldiers inside had no time to react. Shouts of confusion and panic filled the air as the rest of the column slammed on their brakes, boxed in by the narrow path. Dust and smoke mixed with the morning fog until visibility dropped to nothing. Before the Russians could regroup, the second phase began. From concealed trenches on both sides, Azov anti-tank teams unleashed a wave of guided missiles. The second and third vehicles exploded almost simultaneously, sealing the convoy in both directions. Trapped and disoriented, the Russian troops scrambled for cover behind their trucks. But every movement was tracked. High overhead, small FPV drones circled like vultures, their cameras transmitting every frame in real time. Each drone carried a small explosive charge, guided manually toward exposed targets. The operators, calm, focused, efficient, dived the drones one by one. The explosions came in quick, surgical bursts. Within seconds, chaos consumed the entire ravine. Through the thick smoke, muffled orders echoed. A Russian officer shouted for artillery support, but their communications were already jammed. Static filled their radios as Azov's electronic warfare unit flooded the frequencies. The Russians were blind, deaf, and surrounded. From a vantage point on the ridge, Azov snipers scanned the battlefield through thermal scopes. Any soldier who tried to run was swiftly eliminated. The precision was chilling. One shot, one kill, followed by silence. The Russians soon realized there was nowhere left to hide. By 7:10, the scene had devolved into pure panic. The once orderly convoy was now a graveyard of burning metal. Black smoke spiraled into the grey sky as secondary explosions detonated ammunition stored inside the vehicles. The earth trembled with every blast, and still the Azov troops did not advance. They waited, allowing the enemy's confusion to deepen. The trap was working exactly as planned. Only after 20 minutes did the Ukrainian assault teams move in. Moving swiftly under drone cover, they descended into the ravine from both flanks. Their communication was crisp, each command short and precise. They moved like a single organism, disciplined, silent, lethal. Grenades cleared the trenches, while suppressive fire pinned the survivors down. Inside one damaged truck, a wounded Russian soldier fumbled for his rifle, his hands trembling. He never saw the drone hovering above him. It descended silently before releasing a small charge through the shattered windshield. A bright flash, and then nothing. By 7:25, the battlefield was under complete Azov control. The last pockets of resistance were eliminated with methodical precision. A Russian machine gunner who had tried to mount a counterattack was silenced by a single sniper's bullet from nearly 800 meters away. His weapon fell to the dirt, its barrel still hot. The aftermath was grim. Smoke covered the valley, blending with the cold morning mist. The ground was littered with debris, broken weapons, and the remnants of uniforms. The only sounds were the crackling of fire and the faint buzz of returning drones. When Azov engineers moved in to secure the area, they discovered dozens of destroyed vehicles and piles of abandoned ammunition. Intelligence officers catalogued everything: radio equipment, maps, orders, even intercepted digital drives. Every piece of information was precious. Every mistake by the enemy a future advantage. The victory was total. Not a single Ukrainian soldier was lost. What the Russian command had believed to be a safe advance route had turned into a death trap. One planned with surgical precision and executed with absolute discipline. Hours later, as news of the ambush spread across command channels, confusion rippled through the Russian front. Questions filled the air. How could this happen again? How could an entire unit vanish without warning? Yet, for those who survived, the answer was simple. Azov had outsmarted them. That afternoon, Ukrainian artillery units shelled the nearby forest line to prevent any rescue operation. Plumes of smoke rose across the horizon as the Azov soldiers withdrew, their mission complete. Each man carried not trophies, but silence. The heavy silence of professionals who knew their work spoke louder than words. In the days that followed, drone footage of the ambush appeared across social media. The videos showed the precision of every strike, the timing of every explosion, and the terrifying efficiency of Azov's coordination. Analysts around the world began dissecting the footage, calling it one of the most effective ambush operations of the modern war. Military experts praised the combination of human intelligence, drone technology, and psychological warfare. A hybrid strategy that left traditional forces paralyzed. Even Russian channels, despite censorship, could not hide the loss. Leaked reports confirmed that the convoy had been annihilated and that command had underestimated Azov's ability to control the region. The trap had not just destroyed men and machines, it had shattered confidence. By the fourth day, Ukrainian units had secured a 10-kilometer perimeter around the ambush site. Reinforcements arrived to fortify the position and recover valuable equipment. What began as a tactical engagement had evolved into a symbolic victory. Proof that courage, patience, and intelligence could overcome numerical superiority. The Azov Regiment's actions that day reminded the world of a truth long forgotten. Wars are not won by numbers alone, but by those who understand the terrain, the enemy, and the moment. Their operation blended modern technology with timeless strategy, deception, patience, and precision. As the sun set over Donetsk, the last columns of smoke rose into the fading sky. The battlefield was quiet once again, scarred but peaceful in its own grim way. The men of Azov looked back one last time before disappearing into the tree line, leaving nothing but wreckage and silence behind. That night, as global media replayed the footage, commentators described the ambush as a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Some called it a message, others a warning. But for those who understood the art of war, it was something deeper, a glimpse into the future of combat, where the battlefield is ruled not by brute force, but by intelligence and precision. What began as a single morning ambush became a chapter in the history of modern warfare, a demonstration of what human resolve and strategic mastery can achieve. And as the story spread across international headlines, one name remained etched in the minds of millions. The name that chronicled the rise of Ukraine's new tactics and the fall of an unprepared enemy. Delta history.